All right, folks, it is time to get into our first New York Giants 2025 7-round mock draft. Could not be more excited. The Giants currently hold the third pick in the 2025 NFL draft. Obviously, they have a quarterback situation on their hands. They've got to go get a young quarterback. Who's going to be making those decisions? Will Joe Shane still be in place? Will Brian Daboll still be the head coach? We don't know the answers to those questions. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and say I think that Brian Daboll should get another shot at coaching with a competent quarterback situation. And I think that when you look at the Las Vegas Raiders and the New York Giants, two teams that clearly need quarterback at the top of the draft, could they trade up to Jacksonville to the first overall pick to potentially secure their QB1 without having to worry about what the other team's doing? Yes, I think the Raiders could try to do that. The Giants could also try to do that, jump the Raiders, who currently have the second overall pick. But I wouldn't advise that in this quarterback class. I don't think you have a surefire thing at quarterback, someone that you want to trade the farm for. Now, if you want to take a swing at 3, that's probably the most likely scenario. And so that's what we're going to do here in this mock draft. We're running it over on NFL Mock Draft Database. And one thing to keep in mind, the Giants have about $60 million in projected cap space for 2025 right now, and they're going to need to use a lot of that. I think they're going to need to use that to address the cornerback position. Maybe you keep DJ Reed in New York, right? Jets cornerback, who I think is a hell of a football player. You could bring him over to potentially be an outside starter. You did draft Drew Phillips, who's playing well at nickel. Also added Tyler Nubin to replace Xavier McKinney, a good young football player. But you need help at outside corner. And so maybe you bring in a veteran, again, like a DJ Reed. You also need some help on the offensive line. I think you probably allocate some of your resources there in free agency as well. And then you enter the draft feeling like you need to add up probably another corner, probably go get your quarterback at the top, maybe add some defensive line talent to go with Dexter Lawrence on the interior, probably add another receiver as well to pair with Malik Neighbors. Maybe you add a tight end if you find the right fit to pair with Theo Johnson. So there's a lot of options for the Giants. I think that we've got to get a quarterback, though, and surround him with some more offensive skill players. I do obviously love Malik Neighbors and what he brings to the table. Tyrone Tracy looks to be a diamond in the rough that they were able to find at the running back spot. But let's go ahead and get this thing popping on NFL Mock Draft Database. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Did do a Raiders mock draft yesterday, but I must have looked at the wrong salary cap table because I talked about the Raiders having like $35 million in cap space, which is actually what they have right now. They're projected to have over $100 million in cap space next offseason. So I'm going to need to redo that video, delete it, and I will redo it. We've got some trade offers. We're not trading out. We're taking our quarterback. And in this situation, the Las Vegas Raiders have taken Cam Ward, right? So we're going to take Shedeur Sanders. I think that either way, you would take one of those two quarterbacks in all likelihood. Again, they're both flawed. Neither of them is perfect. Cam Ward is more of the playmaker who has just an innate sense of when to take off. He has a little bit better athletic profile than a Shedeur Sanders does. I think he has a more live arm overall than Shedeur Sanders does, but Sanders is much more accurate, more disciplined. He needs to improve his timing a little bit. He needs to stop drifting in the pocket so much, but with a very experienced and, in my opinion, a good play caller, somebody who knows how to work with quarterbacks and get the most out of them, and Brian Daboll, I think Shedeur Sanders could be in a good spot to come in and have some success. And you obviously, again, need to continue to build out the foundation, the infrastructure around Shedeur Sanders on that offense to try to make sure he can come in. And look, I think he has the clear path towards becoming a middle of the pack quarterback, starting quarterback in the NFL. What we need is to try to elevate him from that, to try to get him close to a top 10 range early on in his career. If you can do that, you could be really cooking with gas with Shedeur, who does, again, have great accuracy. He does have a little bit of playmaking in him, and he has the arm velocity to make every throw. I don't think he has elite arm strength by any stretch of the imagination. It's more average among the starters in the NFL. But, again, I think with his anticipatory tendencies and his arm talent that he does have and the accuracy ball placement, I think Shedeur, again, gives you an opportunity to find some early success here. Now, Giants, as we mentioned, maybe we want to attack defensive line here. I think getting another pass catcher, playmaker on offense could be a great deal here for them as well. So we're going to look at our different options. Offensive tackle. Again, I think that they're going to address this in free agency. There's not going to be a ton of options available in free agency, so you probably do have to go get someone as well in the draft. If I'm looking at Ariante Ursary at 34 overall, it's a little bit rich for me. I know there's a lot of fans of him. You know, making sure Shedeur Sanders has a pocket to throw from is absolutely vital. It is. There's no question about that. However, I don't see it with Ursary quite this high. I do think he can be a quality starter in the NFL. I'm trying to find people who can really elevate what's around Shedeur Sanders or take pressure off him by really adding talent to that defensive front or to that cornerback room. So there's a lot of different options here. It's going to be a tough decision to make for the Giants. Maybe free agency will inform this a little bit more. We don't have the benefit of knowing what they're going to do exactly in free agency here, right? But looking at the top available prospects, if I'm making these picks, which I am right now, newsflash, looking at Walter Nolan, Tyler Warren, I think these are fantastic football players. I have higher marks on them than 34 overall. I think Tyler Warren is such a unique talent, 6'6", 260 pounds, tremendous hands, can go high point the football, can catch in traffic, doesn't drop anything. You can line him up at Y, at F, as an H-back, as a running back, wildcat. You can move him all over the formation, and he's a freight train with the ball in his hands as well, who has good explosiveness for his size and athleticism for his size. I think he would be fantastic. I think pairing up Walter Nolan with Dexter Lawrence could be absolutely devastating for the New York Giants as well. In this spot, you do have Theo Johnson already. He's dealing with injury right now, but I think that maybe going Walter Nolan could be the play. Obviously, we do need to address corner. I think this is a draft with the depth of this cornerback class that you could potentially add a couple corners later and feel good about it, create some competition there, and add talent to the room. And again, we are adding a cornerback in free agency, at least one. And what I would go for DJ Reed. Tough decision. It absolutely is. But we are going to go Walter Nolan. I just think that his ability as a 3-tech playing next to Dexter Lawrence, that could create one of the most dominant interiors in the NFL, and the ability to create dynamic, create dominant areas of your football team is not something that should be overlooked, bottom line. And so we're going to go Walter Nolan there at 34. And then at 65, again, got a lot of options here. You want to continue to add the infrastructure on offense, but is that the biggest need at this moment? I'm not sure. I am not sure. Let's look at what we've got available to us. At cornerback, I think Trey Amos makes sense. I love Azareye'h Thomas here in this spot. Denzel Burke, I'm very concerned with the lack of confidence. The tape he's put out this year has been subpar. Zy Alexander, questions about the overall athletic ability. Davidson Igbinosun is a walking pass interference. Do we want to protect our investment in Shedeur Sanders here? Do we want to add a talented playmaker for him here? Harold Fannin Jr. would certainly be interesting, doing absolutely unbelievable things at Bowling Green. I think we can wait on playmaker. I think we can wait on corner. I think we need to go get a really talented, really fun offensive lineman here in Marcus Mbo out of Purdue, who I think he can play tackle absolutely the next level with his consistently developing hands and with his athletic profile. I think he can play right tackle for you. And if you have an Andrew Thomas and a Marcus Mbo, you could have one of the most athletic, most devastating tackle duos in the NFL in short time, because if Marcus Mbo continues this upward trajectory, and don't get me wrong, there are moments on tape where you're like, what's this guy doing? He gets overly aggressive. but he shows the snatch trap. He shows independent hand usage. He shows the ability to quick set, to jump set you, to two-hand punch, and he just has so many tricks in his bag. Maybe he just needs to refine them and know when to use them a little bit more, hone his craft. But his athleticism is rare at the position, and I think that so is his aggressiveness. And if you can hone that and harness that, it could be something really special for your offensive line. So that's the direction we're going to go here. So we have addressed quarterback, defensive front, offensive line. I think that, you know, when you're looking at building a football team, you got to have your quarterback, and then you've got to have a solid foundation from the inside out. And so we're probably going to start looking for offensive playmakers here, guys that can catch the ball from Shedeur Sanders. Obviously, you have Malik Nabers, Theo Johnson, Tyrone Tracy. What are we going to do here? And we're also going to look at corner. So we lost out on Azareye'h Thomas, obviously. You know, Zy Alexander is starting to be a nice spot for him potentially. Tez Johnson, I'm a huge fan of his game, and, you know, Malik Nabers stretching the field vertically, Tez Johnson getting open underneath in the slot, that could be a lot of fun. I'm also a huge fan of Torrey Horton, who could certainly be a, you know, on the ball receiver playing on the outside, also, you know, motioning inside as well at times to complement the skill set that Malik Nabers has. Torrey Horton is a, you know, 6'2". He's got really good length. He's a pro route runner. I could certainly see this being an ideal fit for him. Somebody who generally makes the first guy miss after catching the football, has some really nice instincts there. I think Giants fans are probably going to kill me if we don't take another corner here, though, soon. But as I said, you can address the need in free agency. There's going to be a ton of corners available in free agency. You don't have to force this if you don't feel comfortable. And quite frankly, I feel more comfortable with some of these receivers still on the board. And then we haven't even mentioned Jaden Higgins, who I absolutely love his game, what he could bring to that receiving room as a 6'4", 215-pound guy who knows how to run routes. He can plant and go. For his size, his route running is really impressive. He's got tremendous hands, catch point skills, go up and get the 50-50 balls, complement Malik Nabers. So there's a ton of options here. There really are. I think that should be a good sign for the New York Giants, but I think supporting Shedeur with a talent like a Tez Johnson, Torrey Horton, or Jaden Higgins, who all have different skill sets. Maybe we go ahead and go for Tez Johnson just because I think that he has the potential, not the same type of player, but they're both small kings, short kings, the potential to have the type of impact from the slot that you've seen from Tank Dell, more underneath than deep down the field, underneath and intermediate, but he is really difficult to keep up with his shiftiness, explosiveness. He's got really strong hands. He plays much tougher than you would expect for a player of his stature. Let's go Tez Johnson. And I know you have Wan'Dale Robinson, but I think that Tez Johnson is a better player. I think that Wan'Dale probably not going to be featured super prominently for a super long time in this offense. I think Tez Johnson just has much more upside. And then we could still go get another receiver for Shedeur with Jaden Higgins, which I don't think would be a bad idea. But I say let's go get Tez Johnson's teammate, Jabbar Muhammad here, who's another smaller football player. A lot of folks talk about him playing slot at the next level. I don't think so. I think he can hang outside. He's 5'10", about 185, 190 pounds. He can absolutely run. He covers. He plays more physical than you would expect at his size. He's got maybe the best, quickest feet in this class and the ability to transition and just carry receivers all over the field. I think at this point in the draft, it's a tremendous value for a Jabbar Muhammad. Next pick is at 156. And again, I talked about double dipping potentially at corner. We could certainly do that with Kobe Bryant, Quincy Riley, even Jason Marshall. I think that all those guys could be competitive at the next level, competing for roles on your football team. At wide receiver, Jaden Higgins is still on the board. I can't allow that to stand. We got to take Jaden Higgins. And now we have like a complete wide receiver room for Shedeur Sanders to really kickstart his career. Malik Neighbors will be in year 2, and you've got a couple other young guys here now that can really complement the skill sets and, again, create a complete receiver room for you. Now, I will say, if you go get DJ Reed and you have Jabbar Muhammad, that's 2 short corners playing on the outside, but I think that they can play at an extremely high level. And, in this modern NFL, you've got mostly zone coverages being run. And I think these guys can play man or zone, DJ Reed and Jabbar Muhammad, but I can understand if some folks are going to say, hey, we need some more size and length out there. I could get that. Jason Marshall certainly offers more size. I don't know that we need to go corner again. Let's look at the big board here, see what's going on. I think running back could be nice to complement what you have with Tyrone Tracy. Devin Singletary still there for another year at least, I think. I would be a big fan of Trevor Etienne in this spot, potentially as a dual threat running back. Just trying to make sure we don't have anybody we just cannot afford to leave on the board here. All right. We are going to go with, we're going to go with Jason Marshall out of Florida. He brings more size, athleticism. He's been playing a lot. He's played a lot of different positions at Florida in the defensive backfield. And again, just building out that depth and overall talent on the back end to try to make sure that we're good to go. We've got a couple picks left here. We'll go ahead and add Trevor Etienne, who he's very explosive, similar skill set to his brother, Travis. I think that Trevor brings a little bit more punch to the game. I think he has a little bit more contact balance. He is super explosive. If he's getting drafted at this point, in my opinion, he should go back to school and try to finish out a stronger career and make a better case to be drafted higher because he has the talent to go much higher than this. But if he enters the draft and he's available, absolutely. Come on down. $256 overall. Is this Mr. Irrelevant? Is it? In this draft class, at the end of the draft, you're just trying to take somebody who can compete for your football team, practice squad, really at this point. Because you've got a ton of draft picks. You're going to have been active in free agency. I think Daniel Jackson is someone who is just too talented to let go undrafted out of Minnesota. I think that he's a pro route runner with really good hands, decent size. So we addressed receiver a lot, which I'm good with because, again, I think you need talent around Malik Neighbors at that position long-term and short-term. Shedeur Sanders is the quarterback of the future here in this situation with Brian Daboll as the head coach still. Walter Nolan coming in to create an absolutely dominant interior defensive line, get that pass rush going even more. Marcus Imbo protecting on the right side. Tez Johnson and Jabbar Muhammad, the 2 Oregon guys, who smaller in stature, but really, really talented. And then Jaden Higgins and Jason Marshall, kind of the opposite. They bring a lot more size and physicality to the game. Trevor Etienne, Daniel Jackson. If you're a Giants fan, let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Y'all have a good one.